Hello ladies and gentlemen, Riley Flame Wookie Kookie here again with another video, and this is going to be another first impressions for a beta in a row. This is going to be the second one in a row. This is for the Gears of War 4 beta that came out way back in April, I believe, or March, whatever. But the point is, it was a long time ago, and Gears of War 4 is finally officially going to be released tomorrow, October 11th of 2016. Now, I enjoyed this beta. I know that my friend and I, Mark and I, we had some frustrations with the beta because, well, how do we put it? Everyone was running around with Nashers. Now, a lot of people like to say, well, that's typically how Gears of War is. Gears of War, the first game had a lot of Nasher users. Gears of War 2, a lot of Nashers. 3, a lot of Nashers. Judgment and Ultimate Edition had a lot of Nashers, and that's true. But it felt like in those games, it was a lot more varied. You would have the Lancer users, or the Retro Lancer users, the Hammer Burst users, and of course all the other weapons. But with this one, it seems like almost everyone used the Nasher. The Lancer almost never saw any action. There's like 1 or 2 people, I think, in my experience. And maybe a Hammer Burst here and there. But for the most part, it was just crazy. Now, the maps. You have 3, at least, that were in the beta at the time. You had Harbor. Harbor was pretty interesting. At first I was like, okay, I think this is going to be my least favorite, but it grew on me, essentially. I liked it. It reminded me a lot of a Gears of War 1 map. Very claustrophobic, a lot of corners, very Foundation looking, industrial environment. So it kind of reminded me of Gears of War 1. I really like the dark, rainy atmosphere to it. Pretty cool layout, and like I said, a lot of cover, so it kind of reminded me of Gears of War, the first one. And then you have the second map, which was Foundation. Foundation reminded me of Gears of War 2, ironically, because I believe it reminded me of the map Anvil, I believe it was called. But anyways, it was kind of like, very ancient looking on the outside, a lot of stone and stuff like that, a lot of different places to go to, stairs and whatnot. So it kind of reminded me of Gears of War 2 map. Pretty big map as well. I mean, all these maps were pretty big, but this one felt like it was the biggest. Pretty interesting. The third map was Dam. I think Dam was probably my favorite because I like basic maps that are just point A and point B, charge to the middle and slaughter each other. This one, ironically, reminded me of, take a guess, a Gears of War 3 map. And I say that because it was huge. There were a fair amount of places I had covered, but for the most part it was open warfare, and long distance fighting was pretty easy to do because of, well, just the range that you had. So there's this weapon called the drop shot. This was the bane of my existence. This thing was OP in my opinion. Just any situation where I thought I was gonna, live or survive or anything like that, this thing would rain down from the sky and destroy me. This thing was absolutely annoying, and it felt like whenever the enemy team had it, you were basically going to die. Your entire team was getting slaughtered. I don't know if it's gonna be, dumbed down in the final version. I know that some people got to play early with the Ultimate Edition of Gears of War 4, I believe it came out 3 or 4 days early. Back on the 7th or 8th, I believe. But all I know is that this weapon was OP in my opinion. Now, in terms of gameplay, other than some minor things, it's basically your standard Gears of War. Gears of War, Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, Judgment, Ultimate Edition, all that stuff is essentially the same style, of course. But of course, when you mantle cover in this game, you have the ability to kick your enemy away. This really changed things up a little bit. I found myself getting my ass kicked to the ground a few times. I don't know if I ever remember kicking somebody. I think I kicked over one person, and then I slaughtered them. But for the most part, it was pretty interesting. At first, it's like, I don't like when games get changed too much, but then I like some change sometimes. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. But for the most part, it was pretty interesting. So those are just my main thoughts of the Gears of War 4 beta that came out a long time ago. It was kind of a mix for Mark, but it eventually grew on me a little bit. It brought out the old love I had for Gears of War, and I absolutely love this series.